Okay. In this episode, I'm going to be answering the question of what do I work on in my business so that I know I'm scaling it, I know I'm growing it, but I don't necessarily have to spend any more hours in my business because I cannot possibly take on anything more. And this is actually a real question that a client of mine asked me recently. And I love this so much. So I'm actually going to break it down in this quick episode here for you today. So this is going to be almost like a little self-coaching episode. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, 3 questions specifically, that are going to help you get closer to what you should actually be working on in your business to grow it without necessarily spending more time. And I love it. No matter if you are spending 5 hours a week in your business or 25 hours a week in your business, you will eventually come to a cap of time. And you need to know what is actually moving the needle and what is not. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of guided coaching with you today. So think about these questions as I ask them to you. And just imagine, what would I actually say back in these moments? And this is going to really help to get your wheels turning about what you could be working on that would actually move the needle. Okay, so the first question that I have for you today is, what is already working? What platform do you already have traction on? What content has performed really well for you in the past? Now, you need to know this so that you can stick to the platform you've already built. I'm almost imagining that you have built a framework, a house, and instead of deciding to go build a new sandcastle and a new sandcastle and a new sandcastle, keep building on what you already have by revisiting what's already working. So like I said, what platforms are you already on? What content has worked really well for you in the past? Is there a way that you can spin that off and reproduce it? A lot of times when you've done something and it's worked really well for you, it's actually even faster for you to do that same type of thing again. Don't reinvent the wheel. I think sometimes we assume that if we're going to get to the next level in our business, we're going to get to that next income bracket, we're going to grow our team, that the thing that's stopping us from getting there is probably totally new, totally different, and super original. And in my experience, and in a lot of my clients' businesses, this is almost always not the case. So really be looking at what is already working, and then ask yourself, what if I did a little more of what I know is already working instead of trying something completely new? So close off that idea of what do we need to create that hasn't even been created yet, and think, what has worked really well for me before? Second question, what are you naturally really good at? I think we overlook this so often because, it's our natural gifting. We look past it because it comes really naturally to us. But the reason this is cool is because typically when you're good at something, it's faster for you to do. It's more enjoyable for you to do. So you're going to have less resistance and procrastination around doing it. And also, you'll probably make a huge impact in whatever it is that you're doing because you're operating out of your strengths. And I think this is incredible. And this is a huge part of why I love doing the coaching work that I do, because helping people to find and see their giftings makes the biggest difference in how they operate inside of their businesses. So really be thinking about your giftings, your callings, the things that you're uniquely good at. And if you're not sure, oh my gosh, okay, so many episodes on my podcast about this, but a great first step would be to ask the people who know you best what you're just really good at. Maybe without trying, or what they think of, if they had a certain problem and they come to you for that thing, you're going to start to connect the dots. But this is going to serve you so well. It's going to help you to get to know yourself and your giftings, but it also implements completely into your business so that you're not forcing things that are going to take more time and have less results, but rather go into the flow of your giftings and your strengths. Okay, question number 3 is, what is making you money right now? So review the past, I would say 3 months in your business. Look at what money you made, where it came from, maybe some different offers if you have multiple revenue streams, and what money did you spend? So this is really good. Just looking at it as the facts. Don't give it more meaning or emotion than it needs. It's just money in, money out. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Compare what money you're making, especially that number 1 revenue driver in your business, to where you're actually spending your time. Do those 2 things add up? Is the thing that's making you the most money right now, even if it's not making you the money that you want to be making, right? Even if you look at that number and you're super discouraged, are you spending the most time on your highest revenue driver. Because a lot of times there's a discrepancy between the thing that's actually making you the most money and the time that you're spending in your week towards those income producing sales activities to drive leads, to generate sales towards that thing. So start there. If you're not actually sure how you're spending your time, totally normal. I think a lot of times we think we're spending more time on certain things than we really are. This is like a total phenomenon, a human normal thing that happens where we misremember how we are spending our time. So if you're curious to get granular about this, you can use a free app like Toggle. It's actually a Chrome plugin, and you can track your time for like a couple of days or even a week, and then look at the data of where you're actually spending time, because it could really surprise you. And a lot of times you learn a lot about yourself by doing a time study. So I strongly recommend it. So another thing to review that's going to help you to know, like, where is money coming from? Like, how do you actually know where the money is coming from? Is to look at the contact form for your website. So if you have an inquiry form and you run a service-based business that someone would reach out to buy your services, looking at the referral source, or like, where did you find me source, is another huge indicator of what's already working really well for you. Those are your lead sources. Those are your referral sources. So those activities, whatever's written in there, has converted to money for you. So it could be a really good breadcrumb as to knowing what's been worth it and what's been not. Like, sometimes we go to a networking event, nothing comes of it. Sometimes we send a vendor gift and nothing comes of it. Sometimes you have a blog post that you've optimized for search and it's legit driving sales. And that is where it's so important to be looking, where are people coming from? So like, I know for me, for example, in my business, the number one source that I see, Google or YouTube, and then podcast. So what does this tell me? This tells me that, like, even sometimes when I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I should be posting reels more often, I should be on these platforms, I should be interacting in Facebook groups that aren't mine, right? I have to come back to the facts and know that when I see money come into my business, more often than not, even when I was doing reels, it is going to be YouTube, Google, and my podcast. And so I can ask myself, have we continued to uphold this? Are we still blogging? Are we still optimizing for SEO? Are we still creating long form evergreen content? And as long as I can stick in my lane and say, those are things that drive me money, I know every time it's going to drive me money, then I know that I'm still doing the right tasks in my business. And if there's time, you can add on more, you can do more. But there are going to be seasons in your business where you absolutely cannot add on more time. So you have to be close to the numbers and understand what is actually bringing you money. Okay, so you have certain things that are bringing you the most money. You also have activities like admin work and email and accounting and things that we have to do to keep our businesses moving forward. We have to have some sort of marketing activities, like visibility marketing. So I did this exercise on myself. I thought, if I was working 2 hours a day, let's say just like nap time, or like an hour during nap time, an hour when my kids go down, because I have 2 small kids, what would I be doing during those times? So what I would urge you to do is to get out a piece of paper and literally block out your times that you can work in your business and start to assign values to those days. And what I mean by that is like themes. Make sure that you have themed out your time, especially if it's limited, so that you don't do a little bit of email, a little bit of editing, a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of admin, a little bit of, it's switching. So what I would do personally is I would have, for my 5 days with my 2 hour broken up blocks, I would focus on content creation, admin, coaching, because I am a business coach, product creation, because I have digital products, and visibility marketing. Those would be my 5 blocks. And I would only focus on one theme per day. As tempting as it would be to do a podcast interview here and jump into my inbox here and then work on a little bit of a freebie or a course or a lead magnet, I know that the fastest way to move forward is actually to theme out my days and don't switch between tasks. There's so much data on this, and I'm not going to bore you with it, but it actually takes people a very long time when going from one software to another, one task to another, going from I'm on a consult call, I'm doing sales, to I'm writing a blog post. Those are 2 very different parts of your brain. So working in your gifting and also working with your brain and your body is going to help you get further ahead in much, much less time. Okay, so just a quick recap. The 3 questions are: what is already working? What am I naturally good at? And what is making me money right now? So one way to implement this is to use these 3 questions this week as journal prompts for yourself, because sometimes you need a minute to just sit with these questions, and you might be very surprised what comes out on paper. And I have found that this is very helpful. If I don't quite know how to answer something, sometimes I just need a minute to answer it. And just because it didn't come to my mind right away doesn't mean that it won't come ever. So sit down with these questions, journal on them for a minute. And thank you so much for sticking with me all the way through here to the end. And hey, if you missed, we just wrapped up a multi-part series on the Called to Both podcast, all about diversifying your revenue streams, especially as service-based creatives. So new ways to make money in your business, a lot of which do not require you to pivot. You can just start making it right alongside of what you're already doing. So that series actually starts episode 74 on my podcast if you want to go back and give it a listen. Thank you so much for listening to my show. Here on Called to Both, we aim to help you go after both the business and the life that you love. And I will be back with a brand new episode next week. Bye, guys.